Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's Fateless podcast episode. And joining me from the Fateless team is going to be Norbert and Ivan. It's going to be helping us with some of the audio things here, audio side of things on GODFORGE. So I'll let you two introduce yourselves to the audience. I know it's both of your first time on the channel, and we'll just start with you, Norbert, and just go ahead and let people know kind of what you do, a little bit about yourself, all that good stuff.
Sure. Hello everyone. I'm Norbert, sound designer at Fateless. I joined in January, and I've been working with sound for the past 20 years. Started out in music production, then went to film, and for the past 5 or 6 years, I've been in game audio, and it's been like a really, really wild journey. I've done lots of different game titles, and I'm really, really excited to actually now give the nice sound effects to GODFORGE and make all those beautiful characters that we're having have the proper sound effects when they're doing the things that they're doing. And that's me.
When our heroes do their these epic ultimates that swirl around and hit enemies, you're the
Yeah,
one making it sound cool, huh?
exactly. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Awesome, awesome, nice. And then go ahead, Ivan, please.
I'm Ivan. I'm the music composer here at Fateless. So I've been working as a freelance music composer for maybe 10 years now or something like that. I've done a bunch of projects, various projects, and here I'm responsible for making each of our factions, each of our core emotional and narrative elements feel deserved musically and feel well represented musically and create all those music themes and stuff like that. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great. And then in terms of the thanks, guys. And then in terms of the scope there, Ivan, is there going to be a little bit of like a 1 to 2 minute musical cut for each faction, or what's kind of like the plan there in terms of your composing in that capacity?
Well, we've initially developed this kind of tier system to our score. So we have this bare minimum uh, kind of amount of tracks we need, which we've established way back in July last year when I joined the project. And those are basically our main melodies, main musical themes, main leitmotifs, and stuff like that. And our soundtrack has this kind of tree like system. So we have these core melodies, core musical material, and after that, we develop all of the branches that are variations of our core main themes, core ideas, stuff like that. And right now, we're also with Norbert developing our dynamic music system. So it starts from small. We have planted those seeds of various musical ideas and for each faction, and now we're developing it further to have a more consistent musical landscape from the narrative and from stylistical and aesthetical point of view.
Okay.
But yeah. As for the uh sorry.
It's all good. It's all
Um,
good. No worries.
So
yeah.
far.
So when you're designing a track, are you looking for like is there a certain length we're going for? 90 seconds, 2 minutes, and making sure that it loops well and all that, or I'm a complete newbie when it comes to sound design, so you got to walk me through this. Is that kind of how it works, or do you make something 5 minutes and then cut it down to the best parts? How does that kind of flow go?
We established that we need to have the main theme for each of our factions. And we also need to have the main theme for the game itself and a bunch of themes for uh, menus and other stuff. And each of the faction themes is basically the campaign battle theme. So it's the first time we hear that faction uh, music is the first time we're introduced to that aesthetic, those instruments, those melodical phrases. And each of those battle tracks is around maybe 2 to 3 minutes in length. We've initially thought that we might make them shorter, but then we decided that we need each of the faction to have a distinct melody. So a melody that you could remember and that you could hum while you're maybe cooking dinner or something like that. Uh, and if you've got these kind of lengthy melodies, it makes sense to increase the length of the track itself. So once it loops, these wouldn't sound too repetitive. And at the same time, there would be some development, musical development within the scope of those 3 minutes. The track continues. So yeah, in general, first and main battle themes are around 2 to 3 minutes in length. And after that comes all the adaptive stuff and all the variations and other things.
Okay, cool. And are we ahead of schedule there? Everything going well? Are you ahead or behind, or how's all that looking?
Well, we're actually approaching. No, we've actually approached a really fascinating time in terms of our soundtrack development. Because right now, most of the faction themes and most of the main themes for our game are finished. So they're approved. We know which melody represents which faction. We know how our, I don't know, Virage, the Slavic one sounds. We know how the Olympus sounds. We have that melody in mind. And now we've started, maybe a month ago or something like that, we've started developing those ideas further. And I always love that part of the process because once you went through this whole painful process of trying to find the perfect sound, the perfect theme, the perfect instrumentation. And once that is established, and you can start experimenting with all that material that was created, it's a really interesting and really creative process in its I don't know, in its freedom, because you can start experimenting in a ways that you didn't think you would experiment in the first place.
Yeah, great.
So
Okay,
yeah,
cool. It's gonna be. We'll have to throw up a video on the YouTube channel here where we show like the overall environment and aesthetic of each faction while it's playing their main melody. That would be a really cool video to just kind of
yeah,
browse
that would be
through.
cool.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And then Norbert, so you're doing the sound effects. How's that been coming along so far?
It's been like a fantastic ride as well for me, and I'm on the team since January only, so I can't believe it's almost 4 months now. And I started out with the cinematics that have been that found their way onto YouTube and onto LinkedIn and all the nice social networks. So that was my first contact with the project, and that was like a really nice way to establish the general aesthetics of what we're looking for. Um, so that was the start of everything, and then of course about a month later, I started really going to the project, seeing what heroes do we have, and started developing a methodology for creating the sounds for each one of the heroes and all their abilities that they're having. And so that spent some time on this one in order to be efficient in the creation process, because it has a creative side, of course, which is the fun part. But in order to also make sure that I'm getting all the heroes in and all the abilities, and we don't run into timing problems, I needed to make sure that I have like a really nice optimized pipeline in place. So I did that, and then for the past 2 months after that, I'd say until now, it was just running through and seeing what great VFX we're getting from Brian and the team. Whenever they kick off a hero ability as done, it lands on my plate, and then I just look at it and think, what could I do for this one? And then just run through my creative process at it. So it's been coming along quite well.
Nice, and I'm excited for people to see some of the new VFX because I think it's really ramped up in the last like 2 months or so. It's been some of the stuff I'm seeing come out. I'm like, wow, okay. I can't wait for people to see this ultimate ability and core ability and all that. So that's awesome. Well, one topic I know people are always curious about whenever it's anything artistic and all that. We don't have to touch on it too much if you guys don't want, but I wanted to get your opinion on like, has AI changed the way you work, or is it something you're excited about or worried about? I know people come on the spectrum in all sorts of different opinions on this. So I know I started with you last time, Ivan. I'll go with you, Norbert. How has AI kind of affected the landscape in terms of how you do your job, and do you utilize it, and do you think it'll change in the future and all that good stuff?
I think AI is a great opportunity. I do understand there are many people out there that see it very skeptically. Uh, I see it. It's a tool first and foremost, just like any other tool or any other thing that was technologically developed over the past years and came, that we could use. It is a very powerful tool, but I do believe that if you use it properly, that you can actually benefit quite a lot from it. It can speed you up in so many ways. It can help you simply by looking things up faster, or by challenging your workflow to do things, or by helping you maybe to optimize a script that you're writing, things like this. So I use it a lot for these parts. I'm not using AI, for example, for the creation process, because that is something I feel, it should come from me, because after all, that's why we're working with a sound designer, and we're not just clicking a button and say like, hey, auto generate the sound effect for me. So I leave the creation process to me, but pretty much everything else that comes afterwards, like how do I insert my sound effects in a pipeline so that they actually end up in my middleware, and that then afterwards they end up in Unity and play nicely. This is something that with AI, and this is actually interesting, this is the first project, the first gaming project in which I'm actually relying on AI to help me with these things. And I can definitely say it speeds you up so much. And that is, of course, for me, it's fantastic, because let's say if in former projects I had to divide my time, let's say 50-50, 50% creating the sounds, and then 50% is like all the stuff that you have to do in terms of I need to get things imported and then make sure that everything plays and implemented. Now I can maybe go for 70-30 or 80-20. So the implementation process is much, much more streamlined. It goes much, much faster. I created myself routines that I couldn't have created, let's say, last year or the year before that, which basically at the touch of a button, I have my sound effect in Reaper, which is the software that I use to create everything. And then I click one button and boom, it's just in Unity. And that's amazing. And I think these things, for that, I don't see why we shouldn't use AI, because it is something that basically helps me to be more creative. And for that, I totally embrace it.
Cool, thank you. And then how about you, Ivan? I'll let you go ahead and share your opinion or how it's changed anything for you.
I agree with Norbert here, and AI is a great tool, and it can be used really productively. I think when you consider AI being a workflow tool, something that helps you achieve the result you were going for faster and more efficiently, it's great. In terms of music, for example, yeah, I'm not sure about those music generation sites and stuff like that, because well, it's basically just a combination of everything this model of AI have heard. Uh, Someone might say, okay, we act the same way. We too are a combination of our likes and dislikes, references that we've heard throughout our lifetime. But I think, and I actually use AI quite often uh, in same way as Norbert in the production side of things, because for example, there are a bunch of great plugins that help you to mix the sound more efficiently, because they have AI enhanced equalizers in them. They help you maybe leave some room in the mix for an instrument because they carve that room in the frequency range and stuff like that. Also, because our score for GODFORGE is quite choir heavy, AI has helped me immensely when sketching out those vocal parts. So, of course, I've recorded some of my singing for some of the Phixion themes for the demos, and it is still in some of those. But when it comes to, okay, I need to hear in this particular demo piece a great a female vocal, and how do I do that? Because most of the instruments, virtual instruments we currently have, are really limited in terms of how they represent the sound. So you have to spend days and days to program those to sound realistic. And with those vocal AI models, for example, you could just program the lyrics you want them to sing. You put in the notes you want them to sing, and it's far more fluid in terms of workflow. So, as a creative, a help in creative stuff, a help in productivity kind of stuff, I think AI is really good. It shouldn't be used excessively, I'd say, but it should be used. Why not?
Okay, cool. And then in terms of like gaming, were you guys familiar with this genre, or did you have favorite games that you were playing recently or growing up, or a certain gaming genre that was your favorite? Have you worked on like certain gaming projects anybody else would know, anything like that? I'll let you start this time, Ivan.
Well, let me see. I wouldn't say I have a favorite genre of games, so to speak. I actually haven't played these kind of games before starting to work at Fateless. I I've seen many times how they are played. I've seen people play them, uh, but I never got into it because I'm quite addictive in terms of multiplayer kind of stuff. So I need to work to to continue composing, and if I spend the whole day and then the next day and then maybe the next week playing this multiplayer game, it's not productive and it's not good for me and my fridge. So because of that, I basically tend to play single player games mostly, and from the maybe from the first experiences I had when it comes to gaming, it was always really eclectic in terms of genre because first I was fascinated with Dune 2000. I played the hell out of it. Also, The Secret of Monkey Island. Then the second Assassin's Creed, and then the Brotherhood, the Revelations. As for the most recent gaming experiences, also musically speaking, actually, Indiana Jones and the Grey Circle. I think it is good. It is as good as it gets. And in terms of the soundtrack, Gordy Hub made an amazing job. It's he is basically our video game world heir to the John Williams throne. I'd say because this game is exceptional in terms of both narrative and audio and the way the actors play their roles. Troy Baker is exceptional. So that I would say was the most recent gaming experience that just stick with me and that I'm going to remember for a really long time.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's a really good question that I should have asked. Is there something that someone should go YouTube the like soundtrack and the composing that from? Because you would be much more educated than someone like me. Is there one that you think is just amazing? And you said this Indiana Jones game. What was it called again? The full title?
Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Yeah. I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, it's out on PC and Xbox, I think, and on the PlayStation. Maybe it comes out this month, I suppose. But it's great. It's basically the fourth film. I at least
Yeah.
consider it that.
But
But so for the soundtrack suggestions, I don't know. Yeah, basically anything Gordy Hub does, anything Austin Wintory does in terms of games, in terms of overall media landscape. One of my most favorite composers right now working in film and animation is John Powell, and I'm in love with these scores for How to Train Your Dragon franchise, because I think with those he single-handedly revived that kind of old-fashioned Hollywood style of scoring, orchestral, thematic, with huge melodies and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, made it sound modern. Because, for example, Hans Zimmer is another favorite of mine, but he does it in his own synth-heavy and more computer-oriented kind of way. And John Powell is great in combining those two worlds. So he is a traditional classical orchestral film composer who uses technology to elevate his own work and make it more modern sounding and more in the line with the stuff that might be popular today. So yeah, I'd say
Okay.
those.
Cool. And I agree with you. I'm glad you brought that up because it's the same reason everybody's shocked to hear that I was a streamer and a gaming YouTuber for so long, and I never played 1 minute of World of Warcraft. And I had the same reason you did. I was like, I know exactly what's gonna happen. If I download World of Warcraft, it's gonna ruin my life. I'm gonna play 14 hours a day, and I'm just not. I'm not even gonna go that route. So I totally
Yeah.
understand what you mean there. Okay, cool. So how about you, Norbert, and your like gaming history or anything you've done recently, all that good stuff?
same for me. I mean, I'm coming like from the times where you traded floppy disk like on the schoolyard. So I've been going back like to the very, very early days of playing computer games. And at that same time I started role playing gaming, like at the time like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and that kind of stuff, pen and paper properly. So I was always naturally gravitating towards role playing games when consoles came out. So for me, like it's there's like still like that holy trilogy, which starts at Morrowind and then Oblivion, and then you go to Skyrim, like the Elder Scrolls series. I'm a big fan of Jeremy Soule, like the composer. Also the Fallout series, pretty much anything that Bethesda has brought out has carried me like through the ages quite a lot in terms of gaming. And when multiplayer things came out, I had the same feeling. I started doing some things, but I felt very quickly that it's something that consumes my time so much. And I always liked the idea of looking at the game as something that it's essentially a story. It's like an interactive medium that you can interact with. It's just like you're watching a good movie, but you're actually in the movie and you can decide what you're going to do there. And I kind of always like to do that by myself, or maybe like with friends, just playing couch co-op or something like this. So that's my history. So I'm definitely very, very heavily influenced by RPG games. And I think that is a perfect link to the game that we're making, to Godforge, because there's so many like super fantastic elements in there. So it links quite nicely for my sound design perspective, because of course when I started working in sound design, that area of working with role-playing games, fantasy, also maybe a bit of horror stuff, that was always the part that I felt most comfortable or at home with. And when I started speaking with Sham and also with Igor about starting to work on GODFORGE, I looked at it, I looked at the material that was available, and I thought like, hey, that could be a game that I would really like to make. And I was really, really happy that it worked out. And it's been a fantastic journey. And in terms of recent games, what I'd say probably my most favorite game for quite some time now is the Hollow Knight. It's a Metroidvania, and I find it just simply so great in terms of the way that like all the elements play together. You have beautiful graphics, you have a fantastic score, you have great sound effects, and and you've got like the whole backstory behind it. You've got so many story arcs that you can explore or not, and it's just something I've been playing with my kids, and I think we're at 120 hours of gameplay now in my profile, and we are at the Hollow Knight right now. We could stop. We just want to finish it with the proper boss fight and kill the Radiants as well. So this is what we're trying at the moment. But in principle, it was just like 110, 120 hours investing just in that game. And I think I never really had that apart from when I was playing Skyrim, which was also like really, really fantastic. And totally second you, Ivan, about The Great Circle. Fantastic game, recommended to anyone because it's also such a fantastic example of how a game should actually be narratively, how to use sound effects, how to use music. And the third one that I'm mentioning now, because I'm just playing it right now, I'm a bit late to the party because it came out, I think, last year, is Alan Wake 2. And for those of you who like a good scare and like a good horror game, Alan Wake is fantastic. The first one was great, but this one here is just taking it to a complete new level. And we can look at all the things like how you use music, when do you have music playing, when the music suddenly stops so that actually the sound effects can take over in order to create you some eerie atmosphere. It's like all in there, and it's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I think that's for me at my background and my preferences. In terms of games that I've worked on, I mean, I started 5 to 6 years ago. I started doing like some game jams to just get get up to speed of how game making actually works, and then pretty soon started my first job in a Brazilian game company. We made the Cobra Kai game, the second one, Cobra Kai Dojo's Rising, which was fantastic because I had the chance to not only work with the composers from the series, but also actually sit into recording sessions with the original, not all of them, but most of the original actors from the series. So we had
Cool.
Ralph Macchio in there. We had William Zabka in there. We had a couple of the star students in. So it was really, really fantastic. And then I was basically the one bringing all of this together because I was the sound designer, but I was always doing the implementation of all the dialogue lines and things. So that was the point where I said like, hey, this is really, really where I want to stay. This is really the stuff that I like to do. And then afterwards, did a couple of other projects, and well, now I'm here and I'm making great sounds for fantastic heroes that you're having, complementing the nice VFX that we're having. And of course, I really enjoy working with Ivan's scores, which I'm mastering and throwing in the game as well. So that's also always a fantastic experience. Whenever a new track comes in, I'm always happy because I'm the first one to get to listen to it. It's great.
Yeah, talking about exchanging floppy disks. That's funny. I like one of my favorite sports teams that I follow. I saw they did a video where they were taking items from like the 80s and 90s and then showing it to them to see if they even knew what it was. So these guys that are like 21, 22, and they were showing them a floppy disk, and these guys that are like 21, 22, they're like, that's like the save icon when I save something. They didn't even know it was a floppy disk. That was kind of like right at the start of my gaming experience. I was very young, but I do remember, yeah, floppy disks and Doom and all that. So it was just funny. And then
It's true.
I guess what I would be curious about, so because I know this happens to me, well, like now that I work in game design, when I'm playing a game, I'll notice this stuff. When you guys are playing a game, do you notice like why did that sound effect do that? Or why would they have the music kick in there? Or wait, why would the music stop? So now does it kind of like change your perspective when you're gaming? And do you notice all this stuff around like the audio and the sound effects? Because I know I do in terms of like game mechanics and game design. And I'll let you go ahead and start, Ivan.
Yeah, it's interesting for me because uh well I started studying music way back at the age of 3 years old or something like that, and it was interesting because so I've started these studies in piano. I first wanted to study cello, but at the age of 3, the height doesn't really correspond well. So yeah, I started studying piano, and it turned out that I'm quite good in terms of perfect pitch kind of stuff. And I was brought into this mentor to have private lessons in piano, and he was a proponent of this idea that everybody can develop perfect pitch and stuff like that. And so I went with him to various master classes to basically show off the way I can listen to a melody and tell exactly which notes are playing and stuff like that. And it really plays an interesting role right now because from that on, every time I hear a piece of music or I hear someone sing, I analyze it in terms of not even analyze. I hear the notes. I don't hear just the music. I hear which notes are playing, and that actually brings me to your question. So each time I hear music, I imagine which notes are played and which instruments play which of the notes and what parts what is the structure of each of the instruments parts. But when it comes to uh, gaming and listening to the stuff that's happening, it's is a sort of double the analytical mind because not only do I analyze what exactly is happening in the melody and those notes and stuff like that, I also analyze how is it implemented and which cue is followed by which one and what are the transitions and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely after starting to work in video games, it's really first it started with films. So whenever watch a movie or a series, of course, I hear in which ways the music is used. But in terms of games, since this is an interactive medium and there are so many possibilities of music to of various tracks to get switched between one another and for those transitions and for the ways to implement that kind of stuff, it's yeah, it sometimes gets too analytical and I try to dial it down a little most of the time.
That's interesting to hear that you like actually hear the notes and all that. Yeah, it'd be way different than someone like me for sure. How about you, Norbert?
Same thing. I realized that when I start getting into music production, once how you make a music track, especially when you're looking at electronic music, where you can actually do lots of nice tricks with like all the fancy equipment that you can have. You don't only just listen to the track anymore. You just always constantly listen and you go like, oh, they used some nice sidechain compression there. Oh, they did some nice stuff there. And then later when I went into movie, into sound for film, it was exactly the same. I could never actually sit in the cinema anymore and just watch the movie. It was just always going like, hey, oh, I'm just hearing like that kind of impact sound they're making there. I can hear they have some rock slides there and they have some of this and then I mix something like that in there. So, that analytical mind that Ivan was mentioning, it just keeps rolling along. And with games, that experience is continuing. And I also agree it's probably even worse because you have this whole technical part behind it. And whenever I'm playing, I find myself Alan Wake right now because I'm playing it, right? So you're playing, and then sometimes I just hit the pause button and I think like, how the heck did they do that transition that just happened, or how did they make that change here? Where do they place the triggers in the game world that that the soundscape is actually reacting to, or how are the attenuation curves that they're putting on the stuff so that you can only hear it here and not there? So you constantly keep um keep thinking about these things, and I guess it's something that you can't really switch off once you work with it. But I try, of course, to keep the magic working. So when I start playing a game, I try to remind myself, I'm playing right now. I'm not here to do research for my work. I'm just here to enjoy a video game. And when I tell that to myself a couple of times before I start playing, I manage, from time to time. It sometimes creeps back into my mind, but I guess it's the normal thing. And it's fascinating as well because you have that perspective of what's actually happening behind the scene. And I guess that's quite a cool addition when you get when you actually have the privilege of working in a game, that you actually then can analyze how they're actually being made.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad that we have people like you both here because I am not musically inclined. I remember when I was a kid, I was like in 5th grade, and my mother was like, "Hey, I think it'd be good for you to learn an instrument and be in and try to be in the band and all that." And so I was like, "Okay, well, I want to be a drummer then if I'm gonna be in the band." And so I went and met with the instructor, and he was like giving me a test to see, I guess, if you can keep a rhythm and if you're inclined to be good at that instrument. And after a couple minutes, he's like, I think let's look for a different instrument for you to try. I still remember that as a kid. I was like, okay, he's kind of nicely telling me, yeah, you don't get to be a drummer in the band. So it's fun to have people like you that can get us to the finish line on this kind of stuff. So that's all I had for today. I appreciate you guys joining me and taking the time to sit down on the podcast and kind of give an exclusive look into some of the sound design and the composing going on at GODFORGE. So we will have links down below that you need to jump into Discord and give any of your thoughts on anything that we talk about in relation to GODFORGE as well. So we will see you soon in the next Fateless podcast episode. Ivan, Norbert, thanks for joining me. It was a lot of fun. Cheers.